Welcome to Captive Conversations. I'm your host, Adam from Captive Wi-Fi. Join us as we dive into behind-the-scenes stories of hospitality leaders, exploring tech, operations, and marketing through the eyes of the experts. Let's get the inside scoop together.
Hello, everyone. Episode 39, nearly at 40. I can't believe it. I have the pleasure of having Elliot Hill from Lombard Street. One of the oldest restaurants in London.
Yeah, well, one of the oldest restaurants in the City of London.
Okay, it's because the City of London is a different city.
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
different regulations,
Yeah.
which I learned, and its own police force.
Its own police force,
Yeah.
most well-funded as well.
Yes, I heard. I read an article the other day. But anyway, give everyone a bit of a wave who can see and a virtual wave for others. We've worked together for a little while. Elliot also had a big captive client, which is really helpful. But Elliot's a bit of a unicorn because he's got his fingers in everything. So I don't think you're really just a general manager. You're sort of like a overall, I don't know, sort of, it's different, but we'll go into it.
Yeah.
We'll go into it. So definitely a unicorn when it comes to what you do. So, but yeah, we're going to go straight in to the questions. And that was from Chris Fletcher. And it was 3. He was like, how many questions? I was like, I don't know. So we did 3 this time. So the first, and it's really interesting for you because it'll be interesting for everyone to hear how this works.
Of course, yeah.
So, first question, how do you deal with how do you deal with change management in anything, and how do you approach it?
Do you know what? I think there was that amazing line that Steve Jobs came out with not too long ago. Well, it's been repeated, obviously not more recently. And that is, change is going to happen, right? We should, in order to be at the top of your game, you should look at the set of whatever you do, and if it's going to change in 10 years, don't focus on that, okay? Focus on the stuff that doesn't change in 10 years, because that's the bit where you'll get your real growth. That's where you'll get your wins, right? Because no one else will think of it. And so the big thing that I think in terms of the sort of hospitality set, right, is that consumer trends are changing pretty quickly, and I think people are more accepting of technology going through into the sort of hospitality set. But the main aspect of it is, how do you still keep the service level going? And how do you keep the fact that you do good drinks and good food? You could go down and certain chain restaurant routes where you buy everything in. You do centralized kitchens, and you go that route. Or what we do is we just stick honest and true to what the food is, and we genuinely think that across the drinks and the food set that we have, that people will get wise to what's happening elsewhere. And so how we combat it, I think, to answer it in that real raw way, is going, right, we're going to stick to our 3 principles, which is food, drink, and service, and we're going to do it really, really, really well. And then anything that we can do that is going to be on the edge of technology, that's what I back, then we're going to take that on as our sort of like 4th piece. But the taking on the tech side of it only works if we do the other 3 things really, really, really well. Because no one wants to come in and then go, oh yeah, I saw this on Instagram, TikTok, or I got this email through and it said come over here, and then the product really, you don't fix your problem, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that we have to hit, is the consistency level, and then deliver
follow through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That.
Awesome. And then rolling out tech on change management, like how's that adoption been? Because that piece sometimes, obviously, I spoke to Chris, actually mentioned it. He goes, it's really interesting because the amount of turnaround of staff. I don't know what it is like on Lombard Street, but in other clients we speak to, there's a big challenge with stuff coming in, stuff coming out, changes, and so on. So if you're running out new tech, or even, change management is massive. We can go forever, but with tech, what are you doing? What are you using to sort of help with that? Like, right, say for example, you went Tissel, which is what you use. Rolled out a brand new feature, and you're like, right, and you benefit because you're one space, rather than a chain. So is there something specific you guys do with that, or onboarding new staff? How does that work? Like, the change management piece is really interesting when you're thinking about the turnaround and churn.
So I think there's there's two pieces to this. So number one, I think we have very good retention rate. So we don't take on a lot of students. The ones that we do the shifts that no one really enjoys, the Saturdays and all that sort of stuff. But that works for us and that works for them. And so actually we're quite lucky in that thing. But our process is to always look at what slows down the waiter. And I think I've said this to yourself many, many times, is the best bits of technology are the ones that you don't use often because they're so quick and they're so, straightforward. And anything that has multiple touch points on it, that needs to change. And so when we put something in, it has to be a complete reduction of what of their workload. So then they can go back to the one of the 3 points from earlier. That is the service level. And so
I love that.
That's where tech comes in. Yeah. And when where it stinks is when, let's say, someone rolls out something, doesn't tell anyone, and then you're like, whoa, this was set up for speed. At the end of the day,
it's really interesting as well because you're not quick service, you're not fast casual, right? No. So it's got to just work. It's got to be seamless.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. So okay, thank you. Next question: if you could be any dish on your menu. And what would it be, as in your character? Chris said a hilarious one, but I won't say his. But yeah, you've got some nice menu items, to be fair. So we're doing all right.
That's tricky. I like that. So I'd probably go for something really, really simple. I would go for sea bass with the caper and brown ship butter.
I thought you'd go with like a Dover sole or sea bass. I knew. I was in my mind. I was thinking Dover sole maybe.
I banned Dover sole.
What?
I banned Dover sole when I first took over. I banned it because we'd do 10 of them, and it takes about 30 seconds to a minute to take them off, and then the whole front of house service would fall apart.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was because, let's say someone ordered 3 of them. Yeah. And where we are in the city, people want quick orders, quick things. Yes. It was an absolute nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Deboning and doing that level of service, of which I absolutely love to do. But it was there right, let's focus on the people that come here and pay our bills, and they're all really angry. So let's just take let's just take that off. Yeah, and so
that's another piece of your in your mind of the speed of service, looking after customers.
Absolutely. Yeah. People are in and out within Lombard Street from an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half, and they do normally 3 courses.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, so I'll go into something afterwards in a minute because I was listening to a podcast about the back in the day of people spending hours.
Oh yeah,
hours and hours, drinks.
The game has changed on that.
Yeah. So okay. And then the other one was, if you can open a site in any city in the world, where would you open it?
Do you know what I was thinking about this? For me, it would be probably at the moment it'd be in Funchal in Madeira.
Yeah,
and
I've been there.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Yeah, it's stunning. I went to a place up in the hills. Yeah, this is so weird. Yeah, I went place up in the hills. Beautiful there.
Absolutely stunning. Yeah. Really, really good food.
Yeah. Weather's really good too.
Weather's really good. Yeah. Everything's really affordable. However, the hotels that we stayed in all sucked, and I was there right. There's a game on that. Yeah. And
I think there's a big. Isn't there a big? What is it? There's a giant hotel at the bottom by the water. It's an old school, been there for years and years.
Yeah, and it's tired.
And then it's really super tired. Yeah. And we were up in the hills. Yeah. So getting up in the hills was like a 20-minute journey with some mad taxi driver navigating. We never left. We stayed up in the hills, and it was beautiful. But yeah, you're right. That is definitely. I like that. What would it be?
I think probably sticking to sort of my principles on that. So very, very clean, elegant, good service, and then probably fish led in the restaurant, just because why not, right?
Well, absolutely. Okay, standard questions. Yeah, best hospitality experience.
So I've had a couple, and I was thinking about this, and all of them happen with adversity. So when things don't go right or whatever. And when I was very young, I went to America. It must have been 10 or 11, maybe even younger actually, to be fair. And I must have got food poisoning. And I was in a restaurant, and I just was living in the loo at this point. And there was apparently, according to my dad, there was a queue outside, and people getting really, really, really worried. And at this point, obviously it's so embarrassing, you don't know what to do, even as a 10-year-old. And what eventually happened is when I came out, one of the waitresses went, "Oh, follow me. Let me go show you something." Took me outside, gave me a Pepsi, and just sort of like calmed me down. And she was there like, "What happens? Don't worry about it. We've sent in someone to, sort that out." And it was like that moment of like, there are decent human beings in the world, and there are, I'm being looked after. And I never forget that. And it sort of goes on to the books of like Danny Mayer and stuff, like Setting the Table, where service is one thing, that's delivering the product, making sure people have drinks topped up, and hospitality is that bit where you're creating the magic. And she, while it was in adversity and I didn't feel very well and didn't feel great about myself, I left it, and I have a huge amount of memories of that age, but that one sticks. Yeah. And I think they're really key. And as I've got older, it's these moments where I went to a pub with my partner's granddad, and he's of that age where his mind's going a little bit and whatnot. And the server, who wasn't called Bob, was called Bob for the whole evening, and he just took it. Yeah. When he stood up and started doing with what's the song that they sing at Wembley, Abide With Me. Abide With Me, that's it. Yeah. And just randomly, because again, he's got a bit cookie. Yeah. The guy just joined in with him. I know that. And that was just like everyone else in that area was there like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And he's there like, "Well, I'm going to stand up and do the crazy with you. Yeah. We're here together." And, when we left, like those bits sort of like stick. And so you've taken adversity or something that is like a non-normal behavior and rolled with it and made it comfortable experience.
Hospitality, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's just hospitality in its thing.
Yeah,
it's key. I did a little bit of content with Kieran.
Yeah,
a little while ago, and same thing. He went to a pub. Yeah, a little 16-year-old came in and she smashed it. Yeah, and then she was doing hospitality apprenticeship, which I think is more people should do it.
Yeah, we do.
I didn't know it existed.
Yeah, we do that.
I had no idea, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I love that idea of learning. I'm a kinesthetic learner, like a lot of people.
Me too.
And I love what I'm doing. And just, if I knew that was about, I'd be doing what you would do.
Honestly, so I've got a degree in film.
Yeah.
And I always think my film degree is because I did film production, so managing film, being in the right places and actors in the right places and all that sort of stuff. And the bit that I enjoy is that film is sort of sensory on normally hearing, eyes, and then maybe a little bit emotional, but it's not really a sense, is it? Whereas hospitality is like across all five. And so I find it way more of an art form. Sorry, people that I did my film degree with, way more of an art film, doing that day in, day out, unscripted, delivering an incredible experience. And that's maybe why all the actors in LA sort of all busk a table and work hard, because that's the truth of it. You're impacting.
Okay. Best hospitality tech.
Oh, I really thought about this, and do you know what, it will you're gonna like my answer, and I think you're gonna hate it all at the same time. It's a website, right?
Yeah.
So trying to book an experience for my partner. It's her 30th in July, and her and I are going to Paris and having a nice time after a lovely trip. And all the websites are like terrible, like horrendous. Like one of them, and shout out to the Frog Pub group if you know it. Their booking date slot on it you can't change the month.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to call them to then inquire of something that they already knew, whether it had it on their system. And so I think the big thing that has revolutionized sort of London websites, and more so outside of London now, is a really, really functional, good website that has product, brand, and all the other sort of stuff. And then on the back of it, you've got the SEO stuff and the PPC and all of that sort of stuff. I think, and I'm very opinionated on this, I think going forward, it will be our dream, and it's a shared dream, where it's contactless loyalty, contactless payments, contactless booking, all of the other sort of stuff. The challenge you've got is where a lot of companies at the moment take the sort of like Apple approach where they want to be a mono, right? Access Group is a great example of it. They buy everything and then they keep it within their ecosystem. Exactly. And what has actually happened is you've got loads of great companies now that are competing on that on a singular level. So they, whether it be Wi-Fi, whether it be like Leet doing loyalty or CRM, 7 Rooms or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I just do my data stack here. But the bit that holds everyone back is the ability to be able to talk to each other in a really clean way. And that's the bit where when everyone gets over their high horses and like shares APIs and doesn't worry about data, that'll be the game changer.
It's the age old of I think Olivia Reed said it a long time ago. I think it was one of Chris' first ever Tech on Toast events, and she was on the panel, and she said, "I wish," well, it's mainly for POS companies, but she was, "I wish POS companies would grow up." And what she meant was, just open the API. And it's not easy.
Yeah,
because I actually spoke to a technology company about a year ago who have an API, but it's not open. And he said to me, "We're not Square.
Yeah,
we don't have the funds that Square have. Do you know how hard it is to make an open API?" Well, saying that, we built one in a week, but we don't do the ours isn't as complex as a POS system with so many facets, right?
Yeah.
So, but she's right. I mean, if everyone was just open, then it wouldn't be so difficult. No. So like the bigger platforms of this world. So, we talk, as you mentioned, Leet. We work with Aqua as well as you, and we connected Leet to Aqua, to Ben, who's amazing as well. And then that was a push to actually, let's speak to Tissel, because Tissel worked really well, and obviously customer driven, right? And that worked well. So I think, I wish, like you, I wish more people would be open. That's just a winning thing. But the journey you were talking about, it's like absolute dream. And the thing you added to that is the payment as well. Yeah. Because theoretically you could do that all the way through, and you could just walk in, sit down, you have your lovely meal. I think that the tip, I'm always giving cash anyway. The typically would be different. Yeah. But you could leave and then come off your card because you printed your card and
I think obviously with a lot of people with the new service charge laws, obviously making it very clear that that money gets given to people. That work.
For me, I would always give cash. I don't often have it on me. So I actually go to a cash point. And do it. I love that. I'd rather, I don't know what it is. My brain doesn't work differently. So, and my friends will leave, and they'll be like, "Service charge included," and I'll be like, "I'll see you in a minute." And like, boom.
I love that.
Just because I think, because I work in hospitality, I sort of understand that people who don't work in hospitality, their mentality is the service charge there.
Yeah, of course.
But they don't think about it.
Yes.
I think it's really interesting. Anyway, okay, we digress a little bit, but we're gonna go back in time. All the way to the beginning. Your history, where you started. Where you, obviously, I know we're in film. So were you in hospitality before that? Had you had a job at somewhere in hospitality?
I started out in a sink.
Love that.
I started out in a sink in a pub, which I won't name. Pot wash, absolutely. If the grease didn't come off with fairy liquid, she'll pull up the sink with bleach. She was crazy. And it was a female.
No gloves.
Oh, no gloves. There was no PPE in Vervard at that point. And I'd cycle my bike, and I'd go past. There was like a place where the travellers used to live, by the train station, by the train line even, and it was halfway. And I'd have to cycle as hard as I could past there because the dog would chase me. And then I'd get to the pub, do my shift. The last hour, I would ask not to be paid in cash, but in cigarettes, and I'd sell the cigarettes at school. There you go.
And how old were you?
I must have been 14 when I did that.
Obviously allowed to work.
Absolutely.
How old did you tell them you were?
Whatever, they didn't ever ask. I don't think it was paid in cash. Proper little village pub.
Love that.
And then did that, and then I did a few shifts for her, doing sort of like the pastry section. Nothing crazy. And so that sort of like kind of allowed me to then do ski seasons. And then while at university, I worked in hospitality.
Hold on. Allowed you to do ski seasons?
Yeah.
Or just what that funded you to go? Or then you just...
Yeah, it funded me. It also gave me something that no one else had on their CV.
Yeah.
You know, so I worked in a hotel.
Yeah.
And then worked as a chalet chef as well, which was good fun. Loved it. And then eventually, sort of, you know.
So as a chalet chef direct for that chalet?
Yeah.
So you hold on. Okay, you're skipping ahead. Hold on a second. So from pot wash to bit of pastry, what then actually cooking?
Yeah, actually cooking. Yeah.
Okay.
So my mum, I guess I have missed that bit. So my mum trained as a cordon bleu chef. So she there we go.
Okay.
And then by the time she had us, that wasn't an option anymore. Realistically, trying to chef and do that, but she worked in some amazing places. Worked for Prue Leaf as one of them, and so we had like a pretty good baseline of cookery. Yeah. And then she sent me
palettes.
Yeah, palette. Yeah, 100%. And just the real basics of how to do stuff. And then she sent me on a cookery course, and then did it. Really enjoyed it, loved it, and then I knew I needed to go to university. I wanted to try something outside of hospitality. Like everyone younger in England at the moment, it's not perceived as a sort of a career. And then,
which it very much is,
100%. Yeah. And then when it came back round and I'd done my film degree, and I found like the harder I worked while I was at uni doing, like, whether it be Pizza Express or whether it be Market Restaurant or any of the other sort of places that I worked, the more
when you were working there, were you working in the kitchen or were you working in front of the house?
So I was working a bit of both.
Nice.
So sort of I did what
the beginning of the unicorn.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, touching both pieces.
100%.
Really,
and I think the thing that I really enjoyed was Pizza Express.
Yeah,
like Pizza Express was just, it was Piccadilly Gardens, and it was slammed. Yeah, and you'd get great money if you gave good service and you were quick. And so that's probably where my ethos of that came. Yeah, and then I went back and did 2 more seasons after that. And in the summer after my last season, I think, I did working as a chef. I got myself to a head chef job.
So my chat GPT. So I basically have my PA, which is my research assistant, was talking about you because I was wondering why you didn't respond, and I bet you're curious how I even found that out. Yeah. But, there is another Elliot Hill who is an exec chef. Yeah. Which is really weird. So my research assistant was asking about that is so strange. Yeah. So
he's up north actually. He's a very good guy. We get tagged in the wrong things all the time.
That's so sorry, I'll let you continue.
No.
That's really interesting.
And the general manager of Nike is also called Elliot as well.
So I was looking at the sources this morning going, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So but I need to be a bit more direct next time when I get my research assistant to ask them do a deep dive in the career. So
and I think I just hit a point where I really like working with people when I didn't like wanting to work in white rooms. The pressure was amazing and working with food, and I really enjoyed that. But the problem is I was the first person in and the last person to leave. And there just hits a point where I sort of said to myself, I met Beth at this point, and I kind of had a choice. I was go to London and go and be a commie at a Michelin star restaurant and then work your way up and then come out the other end maybe alive, or go, all right, you like hospitality, let's go somewhere where it's got a good training platform. So I went to Fuller's, I did their management training program.
Oh, nice.
I got my personal license out of it, then picked up by the Ivy Collection. I got trained to do the stuff in a suit that I do now. They I think we were number 10 out of I think they've got 50 odd sites now. Winchester.
Oh, nice.
Beautiful part of the world. Really busy restaurant. We're doing 800, 900 covers a day. It was big. Phenomenal. Yeah. And I did that for 2.5 years. And then when COVID happened, some of the decisions that were made by Caprice Holdings, it didn't align with me, and I tried to open up a cafe. I tried to buy a cafe for £1 because this guy had so much debt. It just didn't pull off. It just got to a point, and I could then someone headhunted me to take over a pub.
Yeah.
I did that for a year.
Where was the pub?
Just outside Winchester as well.
Nice.
Beautiful little spot. Very tired.
Yeah.
Needed someone on the ground, just absolutely hitting it. And then the guy who owned the pub the other side of the road, he said, "I'm opening a restaurant. Do you want to do that?" And at this point, I was there like, I can't flog this thing any longer.
Yeah.
Like,
There's so much you can do.
so I was like, I love restaurants. Restaurants are where my game's at. And so we took that on. It's now really successful. Figurati down in Ocean Village in Southampton. Nick, who's the head chef and chef patron now, is doing an incredible job. And we went through everything together.
Was that new opening, right?
New opening, brand new.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, we, when we were very much given, the keys in the sense of like, you pick your wine list, you pick the cutlery, you pick the thing, and it was
very
amazing.
Different from group, right?
Yeah. And I learned loads.
Yeah,
I learned how to, like the spreadsheet side of it, the data side of it. And then what we found out, and bless this guy, like there was a guy that, one of the guys owned a nightclub, and he did his EPOS from him. I think it was since probably early 2000s, right? And this EPOS system hadn't changed. Yeah, it's called Davis EPOS system.
I never heard of it.
Never heard of it. There you go. There's a reason. I think he probably like licensed an EPOS system and ran it. And so when it came to do sort of things like stock takes, it would say how many glasses of wine that you've done and how many bottles you've done, but not be clever enough to then say, right, okay, that's 75 centilitres, that's 125, and you also sold a 250. So then you sat there with big data sheets trying to work it out. And I was like, oh, there's got to be a better way of doing this. And I think they're moving on to better stuff now. But
this is the restaurant.
This is the restaurant.
So what's using? So now?
I don't know. I said they asked
good
me
big
when I
commission
left.
for you there to just get them onto. By the way, I was bugging you for a bit.
Wow. Well, to be fair, I speak to them all the time.
Nice.
Actually, we, me and Nick, the head chef, we get on very, very well.
Nice.
And when.
Is it so chef and operator?
Yes, I guess so. So it started and it was Nick and I. And then I got this opportunity in London, which I couldn't really say no to. And Nick then effectively just went on it alone. He went through some general managers over that period, and then just realised that, while they do, 60, 70 covers a night, he rather run all of the other bits himself. And for it, it's made it a better product. It's made him look a little bit older, but it's made him a better product. And that's the level of control he has on his kitchen. That's the level of control he has on the front of house. When I had staff members call in sick and he had extra people, he would put a suit on and we'd go do the front together. Nice. And, vice versa, when his pot wash called in sick, I knew how to do it.
And so you jump in. It's interesting. So what going to them, what about the two main things that you learn? Because that's just like starting a new, going off. What were the two? Was that it?
It's the same for yourself, right? Like, the one thing that you learn is how far to the red line you can go. Like, and normally humans are amazing things. Like, it's actually the thing that stops you is not the challenge of the role or the job or whatever. It's how detrimental it is to your family life or whatever that may be. And fortunately at that time, my partner, it's just been amazing. We've been together for 8 odd years now, and I think there was a little bit of it where I want to drive through and say, look, I've made it through and I've done it, and this is what I've had to do, and I've sacrificed a lot of Christmases, birthday, holidays, all the sort of stuff. But now coming out of it makes it worthwhile. And the other thing is, don't lose the humanism part of it. People don't like working for a tyrant. I'm not a big shouter. I don't think that works. I don't think that galvanizes teams or make them excited. Be fun, make an environment that's a little bit cheeky, a little bit naughty, a little bit, sometimes close to the line, but instead
it's got to be a fun environment.
100%. And then
you get more out of your team with that.
Exactly. And the thing is you can be quite heavy-handed, like such as big corporates have to be, or you can create an environment that's a little bit softer, and you take that person out for a chat and you say, hey, well, that's the line, okay? And then they learn from it and they grow from it, rather than having something where I've got a warning, but like no reason why I've got that warning, or I've not learned from it, because no one's told me the consequences of my actions.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it. And I think where the sort of future lies with hospitality and stuff like that is people keeping that human connection and making it a learning platform.
Yeah.
But for the customer, guest, or whatever terminology you want to call it, for it to feel like a learning platform.
Yeah.
And I think more and more now you go into restaurants, and I think it's more outside of London, where the profession isn't taken as seriously. You've got 16-year-olds working, and 90% of them are absolutely amazing, working their pants off. But they're learning on the job, and then by 18 they're off at university and whatnot, and then the next person's cycling through.
Yeah.
And guess what? Paying 25 quid for a burger, that's not what you want. And that's where we, as a bigger industry, need to grow and teach through tech, through humanism, through just good level detail.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so you've lesson learned from this brand new restaurant.
Yeah.
And then what was next?
Then it was big old Lombard Street.
Was it? So that was Lombard Street?
Yeah.
And how did that come about?
It came through helping a friend out.
Yeah.
So my friend, he was a general manager, and he effectively we worked a couple of weeks together. We worked together at the Ivy.
Yeah.
And he wasn't very well. So we worked. I came to support for a little bit. Then Lombard Street, and then he wasn't very well, and it turns out he was so unwell he's not coming back.
Yeah.
And it left this sort of like, do you want it? Are you interested?
Yeah.
And I was like, hell yeah. Like this is, I think for me, it was the make or break bit.
Yeah.
And so, within that year, probably the first year was one of the tougher experiences of my life. I used to get the 4:50 train in from Southampton in the morning, and I'd probably get the 10:35 back.
Yeah.
I would do that 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And then we got to a point.
At that point, the city dead at the weekends. Right?
Yeah, it was dead at the weekends.
Yeah.
But also the big thing is no one was trying it.
Yes.
Like the bigger problem we had was more like we needed the structures to be put in, we needed the service to be good, and then you can start like scratching the surface a little bit more. And so at that point, as I said, whole service would go down with the Dover sole. That's not a good restaurant.
No.
So then what we did is...
But then it's also interesting enough because of the learning and the foresight, right? So other general managers don't necessarily think about the whole suite of it, but because where you were and what you've done, and you've been in the kitchen, you sort of... I'd be interested to hear what happens when the chefs go crazy.
Yeah.
And you walk in and you go, get out of the way, I can do this myself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's I speak to lots of people who've been in different roles, when they sit in the room and someone's saying, no, this can't be done.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
Everything's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, including with tech.
Yeah.
You just you got to look at your sort of parameters within it. Like for example, you're saying about the API thing, right? Okay. APIs can't be built within a week. Okay. Parameters of that is it's a sort of held together by gaffer tape API.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same for us. So, a great example is, I think that the most elegant dish in a restaurant that you can't do as well at home is a fish pie.
Yeah.
Right. They're just, they hit different. And
I would never make nobody but my wife. I wouldn't even attempt to
exactly.
do it.
It's also flaff, and by the time you come out of it, you've overcooked the fish and you're just upset, right? And it was one of these things where James, the head chef, I just battled over all the time. And he was there like, if you're taking Dover sole off the menu, this is the same thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like it takes 35 minutes for it to go, warm through into the oven. And, you're talking about service speed. This kills me.
Yeah.
And so actually you have to be, okay, right. What are the parameters of what we want to do?
Yeah.
And once we sort of laid that out from Monday to Friday, what we do really well is we look after people that work in the city for lunch, and then people that are having a bit of escapism into the city for the evening. And then we opened up on the Saturday and eventually the Sunday, and no one came.
Yeah.
We're like, what? Everyone in the city loves us and knows us.
Yeah.
That's because everyone who works in the city doesn't go to the city on the weekend, right?
No.
So then actually we had to completely change it.
Yeah.
And we had to sort of, and even for me, like sort of accept that we're going to have to do something a little bit different. And so we do, it's gone viral a couple of times now.
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
It's awesome.
A bottomless brunch, that has a lot of people from outside of London, and famously, that's what the city does really well. It swaps, and people come from
it's so weird.
Essex.
Back in the day,
Sussex.
it was like tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
I mean, I when I used to do events, we would take a club in London Wall called Nylon back in the day that was dead. The absolute day, we would just fill it with hundreds of people. Yeah. And it was great. And then, but you walk out and it'd be like tumbleweeds.
Yeah.
And cities change. I mean, it has changed, but it's so interesting, isn't it? Like,
well, I think the thing is
the proposition though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And, for me, one of the big changes that I've done in the last year for myself personally is build out that network. Yeah. Build out that network to other places and say, look, the Ned, and Lombard Street open, why aren't you? Yeah. Come on, let's make this place happening. Yeah. And so, now
I think that there's more people living out, there's more people living Canary Wharf now as well.
Yeah.
So I think that is helping, but I think, it's nice to bring people to the city. The city's amazing.
And give a reason to visit. Yeah. Well, that's the big thing.
They're not going to just come for a normal meal. No. I think what you're saying as well is if you can build the experience around it, people will come.
Yeah, and actually, to be fair, I think that's what the true future of hospitality will live around is experience. Yeah, people are over the food and drink thing. What's the next level? Whether it be music, whether it be or you see all these food experiences going about at the moment, and they all seem to be slammed.
I've recently seen that start in the UK now. There's a guy in the US DJ that's bringing is DJing in coffee shops.
Cool.
So the last one was at a matcha place in London. Yeah. And he brought the decks and he was in Bagel Bake.
Cool.
And when it's Bagel Bake, he had a fucking rave in Bagel Bake. In London. I was like, that's awesome. So because they were realizing, and massive in the US now, they're realizing, and the US has bigger space, but they're realizing one, not everyone wants to drink, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's a massive different generation. People do want to go out and party. Yeah. They don't get wasted, but they want to have fun. Yeah. So one of the ones that in the US, I watched, I was sort of looking online the other day. It was a coffee shop, but they had a huge amount of space outside. And sorry, a GoPro's back on again. Mm-hmm. There's a huge amount of space outside, and there was 400 people. Yeah. So it was a matcha bar. It was teeny, but he was DJing in the matcha bar that opened the windows up. And I did it, and I think that's going to be. I think that's super interesting.
So we have big seasonality, right? Yes. So when I always laugh about this because people say you've got the opposite problem to every other restaurant. So my easiest shifts to fill are breakfast and lunch, Monday to Friday, right? And Friday dinner, very hard, but we've come up with an offer that works. Yeah. Offers seem to work for us. So offer on a Friday night, so you get a steak and red wine for 30 quid.
Oh,
perfect.
I'll be there on Friday.
Yeah. And then Saturday is bottomless brunch. Yeah. And Sunday is, it's not this party atmosphere, but it's you could get a roast dinner for 30 quid. Yeah. For 40 quid, you can get it with bottomless sides. So you can get all the roast potatoes, all that sort of stuff. And for 60 quid, it's with bottomless booze as well. And oh my God, game changing. Yeah. And what we realized is with this sort of seasonality, then we've got to be quite clever for the summer. So when it drops in the summer and everyone goes on summer holidays and goes to the beaches and outside of London and all these sort of other stuff, a stuffy banking hall is not really the place that you want to go. No. And so we reached out to a guy called Ross, and Ross owns several companies, a very interesting, very capable human being that I'm very excited to see what happens with him next. And one of his brands is to bring basically whole fancy dress style parties, but awesome. Like Great Gatsby or something like that. And I think our one is going to be the Titanic. And so you do multiple of them over the course of the year. But he goes, what's your worst day of the year? Let's do it. And so he brings 300 people into exclusive different areas. And rather than we say, right, okay, this is how much it's going to be, we'll take the bar. And so no chefs have to work that evening. Everyone's like, oh, dream. And actually we create a really amazing immersive experience where more people are talking about the restaurant again. So we've had to be very clever with working with lots of different partners, whether it be weddings, whether it be
because back in the day, so a friend of mine, her best mate used to work for Lombard Street for a very long time. Ellie. And I remember so many events happening like the whole time. This is years ago. You probably still have lots of events at the moment. But back then it was back to back. But I've never seen her. I remember speaking to my friend Melissa, and she's like, oh my God, she's like mental again. Like, it's crazy. And obviously things change, budgets change and so on. So it's interesting how that all changes as well, because you've had to think about different ways of, like, for the weekends, I would have never even thought about coming to the city on the weekend. But if the opportunity is there to do something cool, my mates are all over it. Everyone's looking for something different to do. And the venue's beautiful as well. So that does help a little bit, to be honest with you. So how, just a quick question on the event side, is that still as massive?
It's
because it's a very unique space.
It's a very unique space. So we, in an direct answer to your question on that one, yes. And is unreal. Like, so we've got 4 events, part of the events team. Which for obviously one single restaurant is like nuts.
Nuts.
So we have one. Alicia, she basically deals with all the brasserie. So you call through and you have any booking that goes outside of our parameters, where it needs like a reduced menu or express menu or
customization.
Exactly. And then the other 3, they all do. So you have one, Neve, she does our 2 private dining spaces pretty much, and she's machine. I would say most days we have like 2 to 3 going on.
Awesome.
And then Ailish helps with her on that because it's so much. And then all the girls work to try and get full venue hires. Which I think the target at the beginning of the year was 24. And we haven't sold any Christmas dates yet. So last year we did 9 over full venue hires over that period. But this year already, we're in 17 full venue hires.
But do you think that's also because of what you've been doing specifically, but bringing One Lombard more into the future of the people knowing about it? Because people know about it.
Oh, for sure.
But I think it's very clever. Because it's taken an other effect of that's a cool venue. And people bring it to more people.
Exactly.
I never even thought about the conversion of when you start to change stuff and do fun stuff, and as you went via as well, the offset of other things they get.
Oh, it's incredible. And do you know what? One of the biggest things that we've pumped money into is the SEO stuff. And getting ourselves listed on websites that support that. That have like a backdoor that we can sort of attach ourselves up to and whatnot. And
this is where the unicorn piece comes in, because normally you're like, I don't think about that, and then I'm just going to run the restaurant. I'm just going to run the restaurant. So one of the things I wanted to mention is because you sort of do have the keys to the castle. Right? So, which is very unique. Like, it's not very, it doesn't happen ever. I don't know. I know lots of GMs. Right? Your title, is it really GM? Is it really?
Restaurant manager,
or even restaurant manager. It isn't really. It's sort of like you have the keys. So what was, I mean, obviously there's lots of trust in there, right? How's that relationship with the owners and everything else? So how does that work? Because, that's a lot of trust. I mean, it's working. So,
Well, I think probably year 1, at the end of the day, they want to make money. Right. And Soren, who is the principal shareholder of the business, you know, he's had Atlantic Bar and Grill, which was in Soho, which is an institution within itself.
I didn't know he had that one.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And then he
If you're going to do Titanic, so the story goes.
Yeah.
So I'm showing my age.
Yeah.
When I went to Atlantic Bar and Grill, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And it's really weird going to
It's horrible now, yeah.
Because when you go down there, I look in and I'm like, this used to be so much nicer. But the bar's still sort of the same.
Yeah.
Right? But the round on the other side was Titanic.
Yeah.
And Titanic was under the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Which I thought was amazing. And I went to the Titanic. So, and you're doing a Titanic event, which is sort of like really interesting. I didn't know he was Atlantic. That's so interesting.
Yeah. And so he's also done Papillon, Noble Rot, but not the Noble Rot that is currently here.
Was he the old one?
He was the original one. Yeah.
Was it Maddox? It was originally on Maddox, off the corner of Maddox Street.
Possibly.
And then it became a nightclub. It was quite small.
Yes.
And the wines were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm showing that age ago.
Yeah.
And that was an amazing restaurant.
And then he had Ecte as well in Bloomberg Arcade, but this has always been his baby.
Yeah.
And I think the main thing of it is, you know, at the time, you know, he said, you know, what's driving you? I just want to make this place better. I just want to make, you know, with my sort of way of thinking, let's just make it a nicer work environment. Because then when you make it a nice work environment and people getting trained, you know what, your life is a lot easier.
You said retention. It's hard, but you've done a good job in
So last year, 79%. So that's 79%. I'm very proud of that number as well. Yeah. Hopefully we beat it this year. But you know, it's about giving people, you know, something to hold on to, enjoy, have a bit of fun. But, you know, the trust thing kind of comes from like me saying yes to a lot of stuff that, you know, yes, I'm happy to do that. But then also going, hey, look, this is why I don't think that's a good idea. Okay. You know, the idea of when we did the £30, well, it used to be 25, but £30 steak for eating glass of wine. Yeah. He was like, do it on every day. I was like, nah, it saturates it.
Yeah.
Like, he was like, but why? And I said, like, just trust that it will saturate it and it will drop the average spend per head on the other days. What we have to focus on is growth and going for the low hanging fruit, all opportunities. Don't go to the top of the tree just for your own ego. You know, take all the low stuff and also being able to say, hey, this doesn't work. The biggest and best thing, and we were talking about this beforehand, you know, the biggest and best thing that you can do as a business person is saying, this doesn't work and we need to stop it now. And how do we change it for the better? Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah,
like the admit the whole admit of like that's not working. Yeah, it's hard.
That's what you got to do with a smile on your face.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's how you have to enrich people, right? Yeah. And so we do a team meeting every week, and that's more sort of like a roll call, right? Yeah. And we go through and go, right, what's your department on? What's this? What's that? What was GP? Why was it low? Why was it good? Yeah, you know. And it's not an attack.
It's so difficult because you don't in bigger groups. You don't have that.
No, at all.
So it's like a little family.
Yeah, is it 100%? And then, you know, if there's things which need to be held in or a little bit more confrontational, then I ask for them to be handed to me beforehand. Yeah. So then, do you know what? This isn't probably the right place to do this or the right platform. Yeah. Let's have this chat privately.
Open communication.
Yeah. And I think the thing is it only works if they trust in it. Yeah. And you have to have that chat no matter how horrible it feels. Because
I guess the other thing is as well, is that you're open.
Yeah.
Right. So you're open. There's no barrier to who you are. So there's no worry of shit and blah, blah, blah. So you've made it that way to the communications.
Oh, for sure. But you live and die by the sword on that one. You know, sometimes it's a lot easier just to have a closed door.
I didn't want to know that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This is my opinion. We're going to go with it. Yeah. But then you also don't find out the sort of stuff where it really impacts your business. So does the till not work? Why does this not work? You've changed something, Elliot, on the menu page, and now they can't find the buttons. Why have you changed the color? You know, all of these aspects, and then you don't hear it back, and then you can't. You don't.
It's so important.
Yeah.
Because you lose stuff as well. Like, Very, very sorry. My brain's going. It's so interesting. Yeah, because just I've not done what you do. Yeah, right. So it's interesting. I've done events and you know, open places with people, but this is different. So it's super interesting to hear.
Because the Ivy, when I worked for them, they have a formula, right? And their formula works.
Yeah.
Okay. And their formula worked,
It's the same as well, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so they knew what to roll out, and they knew how to do a successful restaurant. And they employed some good people that had some good charm, and they still genuinely feel that they do. The thing that got them, and has probably caught them out now, and that's why, on every top drawer, what's the worst restaurant, the Ivy or that Orange Man or whatever it may be, comes from the fact that everyone knows that they've hacked the formula.
Yeah.
And so for hospitality people, or people that really enjoy food, you go in and you know that it feels forced.
Yeah.
And you're going to be kicked off your table in 2 hours time. You know that, if you don't know the who's who of that restaurant, you're going to be sat in a terrible seat, near the toilets. And it's just rubbish, right?
Yeah.
And so the big thing is like, from that, the biggest things that I wish I could have done for that business is say to the, senior people within it, this is what's rubbish about that.
So the office is just there if you want
to God. And I think if they took that on, and this is not me telling how people how to do the jobs, but
it's also the challenge is it's a
monster.
We talk about change management. Even that it's a I feel for them.
Yeah.
Because as you get such a large group, there's only so much you can do with it. You're right, they have hacked the formula. It's very interesting. But each one's different. So I'm sure Winchester was very different to St John's Wood and so on.
I think St John's Wood is the only one that's actually different to any of the others, because every part of that formula doesn't work.
Yeah.
There, they've got a very affluent community surrounding it.
Yeah.
However, all of them see through all of the holes.
Yeah.
So
I've been there twice.
Yeah.
And it's not like any other Ivy I've been to.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
I think they need to change it to a different brand, because it doesn't make any sense. On that road.
Yeah.
Everyone I know, sorry to say, would rather go to Soutine than there. Which is really strange.
And the thing is they could pump money of, doing another Annabelle's or another Harry's or something like that. But the reality of it is, I don't think they will learn from the mistakes of that restaurant. And
it's so interesting.
I think that the main thing is that even if they put a Bill's there, I don't think it would work.
Yeah. It's a very unique road, that one.
Exactly.
Just that road.
I think it has to be an independent restaurant. Yeah. If I'm really honest, I'd like a match.
Tough crowd.
I'd like a match.
Yeah.
And I do it like one of our pubs around here, and just go, thank you very much, and dust my hands off that. But that's a unicorn restaurant in the sense that there's not, every Cope Brasserie, they were the OGs of who hacked the formula, right? They knew that if you put a restaurant in a cathedral town, you're going to have high footfall and high levels of tourism. Your restaurant, as long as the product is good, you'll be all right. What did Ivy do? The same thing. And that might be to do with Richard Caring's knowledge of Cope Brasserie. But it's the same with, and other chains. I think the big thing is what the learning for me from working with them is that the one thing that's fun about Lombard Street is the individuality of it. And, people go, so what's the magic of Lombard? What's that? And, there is magic because it's the original trading street in ever, which was from London to Lombardy in Italy. But then also, one of the jokes that we have is they're like, so how do you describe your customers? And I say some of them have a lot of money but are a right dick. Okay. And obviously that's the acronym of Lombard. So you can have those those little playful bits. And we're in the early stages of doing a cookery book.
Oh, awesome!
And that is going to be the title.
I love that. Question about the space. Back to very quickly. I don't live too far from St Albans. And the Ivy in St Albans. Is probably my favourite Ivy out of all of them. And the reason why that one is that Hatfield Catering College is around the corner. So they get the best. And I went there the other day for our wedding anniversary last year. Got there at 10 o'clock. And they walked in, was not rushed out, was not told, hurry up. And amazing. I was just like, and that is probably I don't know why, because it's a local town as well. It's so different to the one you were talking about, St John's Wood.
Yeah.
But always busy, always packed.
Yeah.
Great service, and they just want to excel. And I think that one there is probably my favourite out of any one of them I've been to. It's so interesting. I think maybe because they've got the best and brightest from the college coming in and wanting to go out. But back to, I wanted to mention that because we were deep diving in Ivy, but there are some awesome ones out there as well.
Oh, for sure.
That really work.
And I really loved my time at Manchester. Like, I thought it was incredible. There was some amazing practices. Like
loads. I mean,
an insane amount.
It was a huge site.
Huge site. And the thing is also, like, you know, the materials that they give you, they're not copyrighted or anything like that. It's like how to set a table and how to teach people how to set a table. So when, you know, for me, when I realized that actually they've got a formula of teaching thousands of people how to do something right in the same way. Christ, I needed to hack into that quick and I needed to work out what worked because you and I may learn in one way, but then you know, the other reality of it is that we have other people that work for us that don't work in that way and that don't have that formula, and that's really key. And so I took a lot out.
I wanted to quickly tee into the history of the venue. Because it's what was it before?
It's a bank.
Okay.
So it was a bank, and the story goes, and I actually like it because it's got a huge amount of charm about it. But Soren had the Atlantic Bar and Grill. He knew was probably going to pop at some point, and it was due to landlords at that time. And so, just you know, it is what it is, isn't it? And he was in the city, you know, and he saw the building had you know, been closed and whatnot, and he was like, a perfect place for a restaurant, and said to the estate agent, you know, please let me know if it ever happens. And you know, a year later or something like that, I think that was in 1998. He's playing golf. He hates golf. It's one of the funniest things. Playing golf with a load of friends. And due to his connections and whatnot, he was playing with someone very senior within NatWest. And he gets his phone call through, and they said, "Oh, you can have the building, but you need to sign for it now." And he said, like, "Well, I'm up playing golf. Like, what do you want me to do? I've got no way of sorting this. How? Like, And the guy from NatWest was there, like, if you tee off in a minute, I'll fund it. No, I'll just fund it. You can have the loan. You can do whatever you want. But you're holding me up now." And so the money was secured. The PAs ran around London and gave the money just in time.
Wow.
And then he completely ripped it out and made it into
1997.
1998,
Wow.
So 26 years old.
Wow.
Wow.
26 years. It's an institution.
100%. It very much is. You know, as much as Coq d'Argent is an institution which is next door to us, we just beat them because we opened early.
Wow. And then so one of the questions was the challenges of the space, right? Listed building?
Listed building, huge. The biggest thing is when it's quiet, it hemorrhages money. Like nothing you've would ever realize.
Big space.
How
many covers?
132, and that's
and with the PDRs or not?
With PDRs 200.
Big.
215.
Wow. That's a lot.
And then, so do you know what? When it's December, easy. Easy to run. When it's July. It's like how, and I guess where my wins have been is been making sure that it's been profitable for as many months as humanly possible, right? And so we're down to 2 months that now we lose money in. August, which this year we won't, just through to the weddings and whatnot that we've got, and January because we shut for 2 weeks.
17 events.
Exactly. 10 weddings. Well.
10 weddings. Did you ever do weddings before?
We did one last year. And then,
awesome.
we just really smashed it.
That's so clever that's amazing. I mean, everyone wants something different for weddings as well.
For sure. And we're really cheap. Right. You know, so for a venue in City of London.
You've got everything in there really, except for maybe a bit of AV that's needed, right?
No, all comes included. We the club nights and stuff like that we've done at the time.
Is that all your kit? Or was it
all of our kit?
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So every now and then, if you walk around, you'll see like Genuinely, we got them. We've got our own decks.
I love that.
So we've got downstairs. We've got like a hidden speakeasy through a bookcase. And we've done loads of nights where the DJ has DJ'd on the bar.
Yeah,
and
I love that.
Piled in.
Yeah,
but it's not affected the restaurant experience because it has its own private door in.
Yeah. Oh, does it?
Yeah.
How many covers is that down there?
So standing, we're probably about 40.
Oh, nice.
And so it's a nice intimate environment. People like rent it out for like 30th and 40th.
Yeah.
Have a wild evening.
Yeah, and no one knows.
And no one knows.
I love that.
And it's like cocktail bar. Yeah. And very like chilled out vibes. And then, or
it could be a PDR for
PDR. Yeah. We've put tables down and people do it. There's several companies at the moment that use us for non-exec interviews and stuff like that, or very senior C-suite interviews as well. So it's quite interesting.
Filming? Do much filming?
Netflix, Warner Brothers. Am I on the NDA still? We've got some stuff coming out, but we've been in Top Boy.
That's amazing.
And MasterChef was filmed there as well. So
this is awesome. Okay, to be fair, we're coming to the end, to be honest with you, and it was the implementing and managing tech stack. We did talk about a little bit, to be fair. Yeah. But I wanted to talk to you about, because you, Stephen Phillips, I think his name is, who was at Maragame, left, did a conversation with Chris Fletcher. Yeah. And talk about the one plate of truth. Yeah. Which you've done recently, actually. So I just wanted to share that, what the thought process of about that was, and to bring everyone into the conversation. Because this time it wasn't. So most people will just do, so they would have IT, you have EPOS, you have stock control, you have maybe analytical people, but you've taken it the step further by bringing in loyalty, Wi-Fi, any touch point in the business was brought into that round table, which I've not done one. To be fair, I've been to other conversations before about the tech stack and so on. Yeah. Talk to me about that, because that's really interesting.
So I think the reason where it came from was from frustration. And, when you're trying to do something and that is sort of, I don't think it's pushing the edge, but it's the conversations that have been having. Yeah, definitely pushing the button. But it's conversations that people haven't had, right? Yeah. And so they go, oh yeah, our integration works. So, yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, but does it? But have you come to a restaurant and you haven't? Right, okay, cool. So let me know, when are you going to come? And then being a little bit awkward about it. But then the reality is then you then have that conversation, that provider and supplier goes, oh, do you know what? Okay, this is fine. And then you start getting all these other, people coming in and go, oh, do you know what? Actually, this is really good. But then the problem is that communication of data. So you have something really good, like the loyalty that we have at the moment, fantastic. Yeah. And integrates very well with you guys as well. So Captive. But then how does that information transpose onto other areas of our tech stack? And this is not to upset anyone, but like, how does it go across the 7 rooms? Yeah. How does it go through to Tissel? Yeah. Well, it doesn't. Yeah. So we've got half a tech stack that works and half a tech stack that doesn't talk to each other. And for every single time you try and create those conversations, they charge you money for it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And they're like, but I've paid for that. Yeah. And I get really bamboozled by it. And so the table is getting all the people who say they integrate around the table.
Those stakeholders, right?
Yeah. And saying, right, but do you? Yeah. These are our sticking points.
Yeah. What do you need?
And, taking them hand by hand throughout the restaurant and saying, is this how it's meant to work?
Yeah, it's the journey.
No, it's not. No, but no one's told us. And they're like, okay, we'll skip over that point. Yeah. They show you. And there's I think there's many ways of, getting the answer. And I got told this beautiful bit of English, I guess, and there you can ask a question 1,000 different ways, but you'll always get 1,000 different answers. And so you have to be so specific on what you want and you require, especially in tech. And then you'll get then you'll get what you want out of it. And for me, I'm at this point where I don't really want to build my tech stack any higher until it's like absolutely like nuts and bolts. And We're not far off. I genuinely don't think we are. But, you know, is it...
You want it to be seamless.
Yes, exactly that.
That's the key. So nearly there.
Nearly there.
Yeah. But it was really interesting because I was obviously part of that as well.
Yeah.
It was interesting to listen to everyone.
Yeah.
In that conversation, and it was nice. Everyone's open, which is also really nice. So yeah, it was. I think more people should look at the bringing everything in.
Yeah.
As well as when you're having those meetings, not just looking at the operational side. Yeah. But looking at loyalty and everything, because it's massive.
The thing is if you work again, you know, with a company such as Access, you've got one point of call. Yeah. Right. And for anyone to sync the bigger companies and stuff like that, or get a better product out of it.
I mean, that challenge when you say that is there are still. I don't think you do have one point of call there because there's lots of fragments.
Yes.
So like the guys at Res Diary who are awesome, are amazing, and I've spoken to them quite a bit, and they're still running their own. They're still running sort of independent, but as part of the group. And then there's obviously others. So I don't know if you have access to maybe the other facets of what's there. But I don't think you do have that single point of I do this for you, but we also do this, this, and this.
For sure.
It sounds like it could be.
Yeah.
But I don't think they do it.
I mean, it's definitely that their ecosystem at the moment is trying to build that way. But so was contracts. Yeah. You know, I don't hear many people using contracts other than the big groups anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, they don't want to. I guess Zonal would rather have Zonal going out than contracts. Yeah. So it's really. I mean, the Ivy still have contracts, right? Yeah. So it's interesting. It's really interesting. Okay, amazing. So basically, my last question is I put here like, what is the tech / future looking like for One Lombard Street? What's the dream? I know we talked about it a little bit earlier. Yeah, I think going back through, I think like, you know, the three focuses, obviously food service and drink being number one, and the tech level of it is for it to be seamless. Yeah. You know, and what does that mean? Like you sat on the bus on the way home and you're like, oh, do you know what? I really fancy a meal. You know, and you find it and you book. Yeah. That moment you've booked, you know, it's super quick. Date, time, how many people, boom, done. And then after that, everything else is you know, you don't have to get your phone out. You're present with the people that you're with. You know, you if let's say your guest goes to the toilet and you want to jump on the Wi-Fi, you know, it's already there. It's already happened. You know, whether you want to, you know, gain loyalty points, it's already there, connected to your booking system. Nice. And then, you know, you carry out. I think there's just a really nice, clean way of doing that. Back in the day, the EPOS system that doesn't exist anymore as such, they had this PayPal check-in thing. Yeah. So you would go. My office was down the road back then, and so you'd basically want to go to a coffee shop and buy coffee, or go to a lunch spot that had it. So you basically press the PayPal button and checked in, and to the venue. You phone in the office as long as you're within 500 meters. Yeah. Or I think it was 500 meters. You could walk up and say, "Hi, I've checked in." And then your little PayPal photo would be on the POS. And they go, oh yeah, hi, I'm Adam, checked in. And they go, yeah, no worries. And they look at you and they go, yeah, see you, okay, done. And you'd walk away, you didn't need to pay. I mean, that's a really clever idea. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like checking in, but I wasn't even there. And not like the McDonald's app, we have to check in, whatever, you know, to order it. And I mean, that could, you know, that was technology years ago. Yeah. And then it just disappeared off the face of the earth. But theoretically for the restaurants as well, once you've checked in the restaurant, all your information is already there.
But I mean, it's like QR codes, right? Yeah. They were dead before COVID. Yeah. Now they're back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to be fair, interesting. I was talking to a colleague of mine in Australia. Yeah. And if you go to a restaurant in Australia and there's no QR code, there's outlaw because they had QR codes way before COVID.
Wow.
So it's practice all across Australia. Yeah. The majority of restaurants or coffee shops, whatever it is, will have. That's why me and you do so well over there. Yeah. Well, me and you, Mr. Young, they're two massive companies that joined. Yeah. I was talking to a colleague of mine. He was like, literally, people get angry because it's not there. They just want to order. Yeah. So the adoption rate was super high always. We now, it was really interesting. Yeah. When you look at putting QRs in, and I was in the Bowtree Hotel at Lavo for lunch the other day with Lawrence. Yeah. And they had a little QR on the table, but it was on a little piece of wood with a little bit of glass, and it was just sat there. So, and I had a podcast the other day, and we were talking about giving the customer the choice. Yeah. Should be the customer's choice, right? Exactly. It's not if you're high-end QSR, whatever it is. Yeah. If I got to go and I want to leave, or I want to And the thing I really want more people to do is, even if it's just not food, because food's difficult, if I want to order a bottle of champagne, or I want to order a cocktail, my wife wants her dirty martini, and it's not, I can't wave someone down, but then it's too late, because she's like, I've had my food now, I don't want it. And so I think that's one thing I wish more people would do, whether it be a button for like Bob Ricard, you know, when you can do that, press for champagne, or you just press to reorder. I wish there was more of that in fine dining, or, you know. We're
going to give it a whirl.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. It's going to be so interesting.
So we're just doing it just drinks.
Yeah, which is perfect. I think it's perfect.
And I think what we want to see is what the level of the adoption rate is going to be. I genuinely think it makes for an easier experience, because like you're saying, like, okay, I mean, on just raw financials, you know, you're going to put all your waiters or and your strong waiters with people that are taking food, right? Okay, because you're going to have better average spend per head, and that's what you can do. So what tends to happen is that you don't get that level of service in a drinking area, right? No. And, you know, I went to you know, the Ned the other day, and they were incredible space, right? Yeah. And the challenge is I knew exactly what the problem was. Yeah. And that is they're trying to give that really sharp service, but the section this poor girl had was huge.
Yeah. Which outlet did you go to?
So it was. So you know where the concierge is? We were literally in front of that. Yeah. And we were just having coffees, but we were there for 4 hours. Yeah. And I would have killed for a QR code at that point. Yeah. And it wouldn't have thought any less of the Ned for having it or anything like that. Yeah. But it would have made my life
easier.
You're
a resident, you got the app.
Yeah, exactly. No. I also would love to go to the Vault. That was a cool night. Play, but hang on.
Yeah. No, you're right. I think it's really interesting. Yeah. I'm really. We'll do a little comeback and a little clip. I'd love to hear, because then I think I'd love to hear more info on how that works, because that is just. I'd love to more people to do it. Yeah. And then, are you going to do for lunch per pay or not? I think experience is.
So I think what we found is for Tissel and Stalkit, it's a new integration, right? And we've got it going at another site. The challenge you've got is holding the tab, and then reconnecting to the tab, or if multiple people are going to be using it, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, and that's not because Stalkit can't do it, and that's not because Sissel can't do it. Yeah. It's because they haven't had those communications between each other just yet. Mm-hmm. So we are basically pushing the boundaries, right? So what we're going to do is integration number one is going live on drinks, and then you can pay as you go, or you can start a tab that way. But no food and no other. You couldn't do it on a table where you had food as well. Yeah, because it confuses.
I get it.
Quite a lot. And then stage 2 will be then, okay, we'll put it on all the tables. Yeah, and then you go from there. But the challenge is, right?
I'm so interested.
We don't have table numbers.
Oh.
So the guest doesn't know what table number they are.
That's so interesting.
So our biggest challenge is our QR code has to be fixed at that table. So you can't do it off a bill or anything like that.
That's okay.
It has to be fixed place, for sure. But then let's say that QR code gets dropped or broken. Yeah.
We had a place, weird. We had a place in Zanzibar, of all places. Beautiful hotel, open up. Yeah. Guy found us out of nowhere. I've got one client in Zanzibar, and they've done something really cute in this beautiful VIP sort of lounge area. Yeah. You couldn't do because you have white tablecloths. Yeah. But they've actually carved in on the table.
That's cool.
That, which is pretty cool. But obviously you have white tablecloths, so you couldn't do it. But it's interesting what you're saying.
Go around with a Sharpie if you want.
Just little spray. Just a little spray on it, right? That's that table. But that is interesting. It's a challenge. It's a good challenge to have. Yeah. I mean, same with the Botry. When I was at the Lavo, they had and it was on a little piece of wood, and it was the direct table number. Yeah. I didn't have a number on it. So they must have known. Yeah. They must obviously know which table was which. So that is interesting. Yeah. How did I mean, my mind's being blown now with no table numbers with where it needs to go. Yeah. That's even another logistical conversation.
Yeah. So on the bottom of ours, it then has the number of the table, right? So that works. But then if you get a spiteful employee or something like that, the challenge that come with it are quite.
You should give names.
Yeah. Well, that was Melanie. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. We're going to come back to them. I'm really interested to see where we are. Okay, final questions. Best restaurant.
Best restaurant, and it's got to be St. John's.
Yeah.
St. John's for me, not only do we work closely with them, but just the whole ethos.
Yeah.
Nose to tail, Fergus Henderson, absolute legend. Trinidad Gulliver's built one of the best wine collections in London, and it's just a cool space. Seasonal. I mean, the whole story is they buy all their meat and break it down like whole animals and break it down at the beginning.
It's amazing,
and I think that's what it should be.
I went, so on that note, my mum doesn't really tell me that many wet restaurants. She went to this restaurant not far from where I live, and she was talking to, she likes to have a good old chat.
Yeah.
You know, he gets that age where you want to have a good old banter with someone, and they literally buy it all in. They don't do nose to tail, but they buy everything in and break it down.
Yeah.
And then use everything else for stock and stuff, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
And probably cheaper nowadays, I would have thought. Depending if you're using everything.
Well, it's the wastage point. So we do, I mean, honestly, everything from scratch.
Yeah.
And they're, you know, most of the fish that we buy in whole and all of these sort of points.
Yeah.
But, you know, for example, the sea bass dish, for the time versus someone else doing it who does it all day long.
Yeah.
We'll buy it in butterflied.
Yeah.
And so that's quicker for us.
Speed of service as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Like some of them do that every day.
Yeah.
And they're paying the not only the wage for someone.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you had breakfast, lunch and dinner and 3 times over, it'd be a different conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think what they do is obviously they don't do breakfast, so they don't have that that challenge. And you know, they've got such a loyal
it's
patronage going about, which is incredible.
But they don't get the people staying there for 4 hours having drinks.
No.
Which was in the past. So everyone's having to change.
Absolutely. And the thing is but you can see that in the way that I think they've got the most interesting social media account going. I think it's fun, it's playful, it's cheeky, you know, and it's so them. You know, I never feel cool enough being in there, and I don't care. You know. So that would be number one.
Okay, perfect. Best burger.
Patty and bun.
Okay.
Patty and bun. I was there from day dot. And the lamb redemption burger, it just is very, very good.
I met Joe at site number 2. Unfortunately, it's now changed. It's in bun, but I remember when they were building Liverpool Street. And one of the main things he was like, I want a window here for takeaway, which is an absolute genius. Because a slide up window for all the deliveries. You didn't have these idiots coming in picking up deliveries. I think crazy brain. Thunder Thighs were my favorite. Those, but okay, interesting.
The Holborn dining room have got the pie hole. Dough. It's incredible.
It?
Like
actually, I was so on the other note from Lawrence. He's not had a proper British pie. I know. And or Sunday roast here. Either.
Oh, okay.
So there's just 2 things he needs to come over when he comes over, and I was like, we need to go. I was looking at I was looking at 3 different places. Because I think Harrods have one as well. But the Holborn dining room, that pie, it looks ridiculous.
It's insane.
Yeah, it looks ridiculous.
And Callum's gone over and opened the public house in Paris, and that looks looks magical as well.
It's mental. Okay, best hotel.
Best hotel for the way they've treated me. Is got to be the Ned. But that's only because Gareth, the managing director, and I have a good relationship. So I feel like there's a little bit of favoritism, but he also wants, you know, I had to stay there because we had a Netflix shoot. Then I was there very, very early in the morning. Gave me a bedroom, but wrote a hand letter on the inside saying like, sorry, I missed you today. Thank you very much. Thought that was really cool. But for me, it's between 2 places, and I think London does it best. In Corinthia, like when you go in, it's just like spellbinding. I think like it actually feels like it's off a fairy tale. And then not a hotel. But I've stayed there, RAC, because it is just the level of the building.
It's mental.
It is just incredible. The history. And what goes on through there.
It was dead for it was an empty space for so long. Like it was just derelict for like years. And and it's just it's a pinch yourself moment when you go in there. But
I mean, I think you have to be lucky enough to know the right people. And trust me, I do not have a membership.
Okay. 3 questions for the next guest.
I think
it was 2, but now it's 3. So thanks, Chris. So yeah. And it could be operator, marketer, or supplier. It could be anyone.
I think what is the most impactful thing that someone has told you?
Like that.
Then I think what keeps you innovative, like pushing innovation.
Yeah.
And then final question is, if something doesn't go your way, how do you combat that?
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 questions.
Interesting questions.
Yeah.
I have to make sure I definitely give them more in advance, because recently I've been having pod to pod. So then I was like, hold on, there's some questions I haven't given you.
No worries.
So, okay, amazing. All right, so I'm going to do you can hear that. They can all hear that, but I can't really hear it. That's a round of applause for you. Thank you so much. This is Elliot from 1 Lombard Street. Where do they find 1 Lombard Street? Let them know.
I mean, Google Bank of England, and that's outside. So Bank Junction, you've got Royal Exchange, you've got Bank of England, you've got Mansion House, where the Lord Mayor Lord Mayor of the City of London lives. Yeah. Leadenhall nearby. There's so much going on. It's a really, really cool place.
And then where do they find you online? Just Google, or is it just
Google? Yeah, just Google us.
Yeah. Don't do the PPCs. So if you see a sponsored ad, go down and do the organic ad.
Yeah. And follow us on our channels and whatnot.
You got to check out Insta, wasn't it? Insta. The Bottomless Brunch on Insta is unbelievable, because you were like, I had the swinging in there. It was so good. It was so good. So I have to give you another round of applause for that, because I don't think anyone in the city
would have thought of that.
No, they'd be like, no, don't do that. We don't do that. So, okay, give everyone a wave goodbye. Thank you so much.